Welcome. My name is G, and this is All Astrology. We are doing a part 2. This is going to be the Astrocartography, which is nothing more than the geography of your astrology. It's the map of the world. It's the energetic grid that I call it that you're born with. And so it impresses those lines, it gives lines and colors over the map of the earth. Outlook for home and family. And we're also looking at work and career, vocation, profession. And there it is. You can see we're looking at North America. I know that these folks, they live in Ohio. So what we see is that for this person who lives in this vicinity, okay, we see that they are living quite close to two of their planets or points in their birth chart. And so I'm going to explain what these two lines mean in their birth chart. Then that will tell us, okay, they're living really close to that energy. And so sometimes when we live really close to an energy, it can be too much depending upon where other things are in our chart, right? Palace is all about your creative intellect. It's your ability to see things from a perspective that others may not be able to see, right? You may have this original thought. I kind of liken it a little bit to like Aquarius energy. So it's this unique thinker, right? There's this independence, but it's also combined with it's very creative. Because what it wants to do is it wants to be able to merge thought with creativity. It's not just about being an intellect, right? You know, I can study, I can memorize things, I can read books. It then has the ability to take that knowledge and that information and to put it into action. And so Pallas is a beautiful feminine energy. It's conjunct, it's right out next to Aries energy. It's like this feminine energy. So this is feminine energy for both of these planets, right? But Eris is Mars, right? It's combative. It's this, I'm ready to go to war. I'm ready to take action. I'm ready to fight for what I believe in. Now, I mentioned the word beliefs because I know for this individual in their chart, these planets line up in their 9th house. Yes, their 9th house, which is all about your beliefs. It's all about unconscious judgments. It's religion, it's spirituality, it's original thought because they have their Pallas and their Eris there, but willing to be brave and courageous and to take action on those original thoughts. And so it can be tied into the bigger picture because it's kind of got like this and Jupiter energy to it, right? Which can be very idealistic at times. And so that's where that can cause a problem if we're not aware of it. And I'm only saying it could cause a problem because there's a little bit of the Eris combativeness, right? Because Eris is this upside down arrow with the head on top. And so if she's combative, we have to remember that she's combative because she feels as though her voice doesn't matter, as though her opinion doesn't matter, as though her ideas don't matter. And I said ideas because she's right next to Pallas Athena, which is, these are my original creative thoughts, my perspective, my intellect. Like I have some really great ideas, but you're just not hearing them, you know, or you're hearing them, but you're not even listening to it, right? It's like she doesn't even have a place at the table. When we talk about beliefs, because this is what this person is living next to, which means this is what they're working next to. The fact that you may not be heard, this can turn into some combativeness. All right. Because these planets, this Eris and this Pallas Athena, they're both in the sign of Aries in this person's birth chart, in their natal makeup, right? From the moment they were born, that's where they're placed. And what that means is it adds even more to the combative possibilities. Okay. The beautiful thing about this energy is it can be very optimistic and positive, but it's like this pioneering energy. And so when you have a pioneering energy, especially if you're not the one in charge, right? Because if you're a pioneer, you got to recognize that those around you may not have the pioneering spirit, especially if it's all about new ideas. That may be an issue, especially when it's Aries energy, because Aries sometimes lacks the ability to see that it has to have more patience. It has to ride things out. It has to wait. Now, for this individual, I've seen their birth chart, patience and just having the stick-to-itiveness to serve and to be there for the greater good. This person has an abundance of that in their chart natally. So what this tells me is that living so close to this line, there will probably be times fight, impulsive. I have a thought, I have an idea, and I just take action with it. Now, again, the whole purpose of this is just to represent possibilities. Were there times that this occurred? Were there things that you maybe could have thought through a little bit further? Eris wants to just go right ahead. And then when Eris is also angry, because it's an angry energy, first of all, because it's never heard. It's Eris. The story behind Eris is it's this female that found out there was this giant wedding party. Married, good friend got married, but she wasn't invited, right? You're like, what the hell? And so Eris then storms the Capitol or storms the church, right? Just goes right in without thinking and is like, what the hell? That may happen at times because this person, because you, I don't know your first name, so I'm going to use the word native. You're close to that energy. You're not right on it, but you are close because it's Aries energy. It's powerful. It's sporadic, meaning you're never going to be this way all the time, but it is at heated moments where there's like this subconscious judgment, subconscious beliefs that you carry that affect your actions. And so you just might not be aware of it, especially if you're like, I know I have good ideas, but these people, it's not being acknowledged, it's not being recognized for whatever reason. Based on where you live, these are the only lines you live near. Look it, there's nothing else. The next closest line is way the hell over here. And yeah, it's not even a factor in your chart. So this was for your career. Now, if I go over to the other parts of the states, if we move over, there's your Saturn line, right? Right here is your Saturn line, which is your work. So if you were to move anywhere closer to it, anytime we get near our Saturn line, we become very serious. Our responsibilities they just start to multiply. There's a buttload of responsibilities here. So I never recommend for anybody to live on their Saturn line, but if someone's looking for work, yeah, maybe living a little bit closer to it, and then surely responsibilities will absolutely pop up. And so that's just a generality on that for you. Okay. And then as you go further west, yeah, because you're over there, you're all the way in Columbus, roughly. If you were to go even further west, you get close to Chiron and your moon. Well, Chiron is pain, moon is emotions and family and mom and stuff like that. And then Black Moon Lilith. So as far as career and stuff, I don't think I would actually recommend that. I don't think I would. To me, in my mind, for you, if you were considering moving somewhere, out of the way, I would just go like, maybe west or maybe east. And you could even stay in Ohio, actually, like if that's something you're considering, because then that would get you further. Going west would get you further from those lines. And even if you got more centered in Ohio, which you may be for all I know, because I really don't know where you live. I don't ask for addresses, but even Indiana, but again, that might not be for you, or moving further east. You see, like that perimeter, if I were to go like that would be a little bit more comfortable, where this combative Aries and Eris type of energy, the spontaneity of it, because remember, Aries energy is the fine wine, which means it has to age. Once it ages, it tastes better, right? And you may already be there, okay? But the fact that you live so close to this, it's got to be a factor in your life in some way. It's got to be a factor. It's got to shape your beliefs in some way. It's got to somehow be a part of it. Now let's change the map around and let's go to home. Let's see what this would look like for a location of living. All right, so here we go. So this is where you are right now, right? And you see the lines change. We have a line here and a line here. So the line that you're closest to is your Mercury line. That's what this red line is. That is your Mercury line. So you're pretty close to it, actually. Look at that. You seem to be, if I click your employment line back on again, you're actually closer to your Mercury line. Mercury is communication. It's talking, it's relating, it's thinking, it is sibling energy, it is coworker energy. Mercury is our ability to keep track of information. It's the scribe, it's the writer. It is social media, it's the news. That's Mercury. Okay. It is business and trade. Now, if you look at the distance between that Mercury line and Columbus, it's right there. If we go to the Eris and the Pallas Athena line, look at that. You are further from them. So your Mercury line, you're quite close to. And I would have to look at your natal chart to see if you have a Mercury in your natal chart that's really busy, because this is your mind. This is how I think. In case I didn't mention that part, forgive me. Some people, their brains just never stop. They're constantly working, meaning like if you're trying to go to sleep and your mind's not shutting off, that's a problem. Coworkers, or if you're looking for a new job, staying in touch with coworkers, this is a good energy to be close to when it comes to business and work. It's also sales energy. Now, what's this next line? This next line is almost the same distance as your Eris and your Pallas Athena. And that is your Cupid line, love and relationships. Yeah, right next to your Mercury, and it's in business. So actually, that Mercury line, it's in relationships and business partnerships. So partnership line is what you're close to. I would say this is probably a pretty good thing that you're next to that partnership line, which means you're going to likely be able to forge new relationships. It doesn't have to be marriage, right? Business as well. And being next to those, it's a benefit, because when something ends, you have the ability to communicate, relate, to never ever really close doors, but that networking in partnerships and businesses is strong there. So even if something were to end, say like you weren't the one that closed the door, like somebody else did, there's always an open door policy with you. Ability to be diplomatic, right? You're the great diplomat. You want things, communication should be fair, should be even, should be beautiful, right? Because it's Mercury in Libra energy. This Cupid energy that I talked about, it represents beauty and its sociability, its marriage, its family history, and its relationships. So it really is a benefit, actually, being close to these lines. You are closer to your Mercury right here than you are to the Cupid energy. But they both are about relationships, keeping the lines of communication open in relationships. Going further, like if you were in Columbus, getting closer to Mercury, yeah. I wouldn't really recommend going any closer. I know I already mentioned maybe possibly moving this way, but then you're really getting close to this other energy. And what happens is when we go right on a line or we get too close to it, our life becomes focused around those things, right? So it all becomes either all about work or all about my marriage and nothing else. When someone sacrifices themselves because they just do everything for everybody else, that's when the problems set in, right? Because we can't neglect ourselves in whatever way it is. And I think I already saw that inclination in your husband's birth chart. I may not have said it, but I know when I was looking at his chart natally, he already has that predisposition or that inclination there from birth, the tendency to do that at work and already at home and in relationships. And this explains why to me now even more, because he's living so close to these lines. So for some folks where they're born, they get up and they move. Like if y'all came over to Illinois or something, and I'm not saying do this. I'm just saying if you did, look how far away you would be from that. That would actually strike balance for him because he'd be that much further from it. He'd be like over here to there, right? Be that much further. So you could take any state and do that very same thing. And just that distance alone would give him enough space to acknowledge himself, right? To make sure that he takes time for himself and to just recognize that having me time is important if you want to be able to really function well in the we time, because that's what that Aryan energy over here is trying to do. It does scream, hey, what about me? And I'm not being heard. But when it gets to the point of frustration, it says, okay, well, if I'm not being heard, then maybe I need to just be quiet and I need to understand that it's not just about me. Again, it has to find balance. It has to be heard. Not all the time. Everybody needs to have a turn at being heard. And because he lives close to that, it looks to me geography wise like this may be an issue. It may be something where he has to just make sure that he's penciling time for himself all by himself at least once a week. This chart we're looking at now is home and work lines together. The solid lines are the work lines. Okay. The solid lines are the work lines, and these dotted lines are his house and home and family lines. Okay. So remember, moving on those lines is not recommended, but getting close to them, like that, right? Creating some sort of distance between them is good. That's where we get the balance. Okay. Now, the balance is dependent on his natal chart. That's why you can't just say, "Hey, let me look at someone's astro map and make a decision off of that." No, you always have to revert back to the birth chart. That's why astrologers charge so much for a reading when it comes to this astrocartography, because they have to first have a good rooted understanding of your basic natal energy. They have to know that first, because then they have to say, okay, does this person need more of this energy, or do they need less of this energy? See, that's why I mentioned I would have to go back and look at your chart. I do want to point out that his sun, this is his sun line right here. This is where he would stand out and shine. He would feel very confident on this line because this is considered his family and his home line, but his sun is here, right? So he would feel quite rejuvenated here. So this I like to see, because if he were to pick somewhere in between, the relationship line and his sun line, this would be most wonderful for him. So this is just me drawing a line down the middle. This is the halfway point between his sun line, which is his home line as well, family, mothering energy, nurturing. But his sun is here, which means he would also feel rejuvenated, which is important. That's how you fill up the gas in your gas tank. And then his Cupid and relationship lines are here. And so this is me just drawing that halfway point to hopefully give some type of guidance. If you guys were ever thinking of either vacationing or actually moving or for retirement, I wanted to do this chart because I wanted to see if there was any exterior factors that were hindering what was happening with work. So far, it looks like most of it is internal. It's really more about him and his soul's goals. Let me do one other thing that I didn't do yet. I'm going to knock off all these other lines, tick them off. We're going to pop up his descendant lines. Now, these descendant lines, oh, there's nothing. Holy crap. Yeah, I just clicked them on. It would represent partnerships. So that could be business or marriage. And holy smokes, let me go back a little bit here and find out where the heck his descendant lines lie. They do not lie anywhere in the United States. Do you see that? Wow. Oh my Lord. Lots going on in the water, right? Lots going on in Africa, a little bit over there in South America. Your hubby's chart. Yeah, look at all this Russia. You see all this over here? Lot of action and activity. So kind of feel like a fish out of water at times. There is nowhere in the United States where it's like, okay, this would be a better idea for him. That's kind of nice. It kind of, says, okay, there's not so many options unless you guys were looking to leave the US. And if that's the case, let me know. That's something I can take another look at another time, because if it's something that other folks can watch and find relevant to their life, the channel will absolutely cover it. It helps. And that's what the channel's here for. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this. And remember, together we're better. Bye-bye.